Yeah, I mean, I've been called dumb once or twice in my life. I'm saying if a Super Bowl party doesn't have wings, it's not really a Super Bowl party.
I have to sadly agree with you for once.
All right, folks, welcome back to Two Dumb Idiots. I am Nick.
I'm Kevin.
And as always, we're going to hash out some random subjects. Today, we're going to keep it a little bit more current. If you've never heard the show before, normally what me and Kevin like to do, we like to pick a subject. We like to kind of break it down and talk about some of the lesser known things about that subject and find out, who's an idiot and who's not. Today, though, we're going to go with some more current subjects today.
I think today's going to be more like a speed round.
Yeah, we're going to go through a couple of funny headlines we've heard recently that we wanted to talk about. Some maybe if people have heard, some people maybe have not.
Trying to keep it pretty light, nothing too heavy for you guys, so don't worry. We're not going to go wild with it.
Yes, no, correct. We also, we will also like to shout out, if you have already heard the podcast before, you can go ahead and jump ahead 30 seconds here. We're going to go ahead and, if you haven't heard the podcast, go ahead and follow us, just so you can, hear about the new podcasts that come out. You can catch us on Instagram at Two Dumb Idiots Podcast, Facebook, the same, YouTube, we're on Spotify, we are on iTunes. Is there anything else I'm missing here?
Apple seems to love us.
Apple seems to love us.
Yeah, 5-star reviews, always appreciated. Tell your friends.
And throw a comment up there if you have anything you want to say, anything that you liked, anything you didn't like, anything you want to hear us talk about a little bit more, anything that Kevin does that pisses you off, throw it on there and we'll try and accommodate.
I mean, there are the haters.
There are the haters. And as we always like to say, we try and be as factually, well, that's not true either. Most of these are opinions and we try to pepper in some facts, but sometimes the facts are going to be wrong. And if they are, we don't give a shit because
it's called Two Dumb Idiots. I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into.
You know what you signed up for, folks. So today, like I said, we're going to do some topical issues. We're going to go through some headlines that we thought were hilarious. If you haven't listened to it, our new our Super Bowl podcast is out too. So if you're excited about the Super Bowl coming up, we'll break down the players, the teams, and kind of who we think has an advantage. Even though we are two dumb idiots, we do watch a lot of sports. So let's start off with a funny story that I heard that I think is hilarious, and it's just such a sign of our times. Spotify announced that they are launching a specific playlist for dogs.
So you did the research on this one, so I have no bearing. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to give me some feedback here.
Fantastic.
All I got right now is Spotify playlist for dogs. Now, is this something they have curated to think like dogs will like? Or is this just like people sounds? Is it like background music? Is it because theoretically to me, any playlist is a playlist for dogs. If you're leaving the house, like do you have like, nah, my dog's more of a classical guy versus like,
look, he really likes 2 Chainz.
Yeah,
I don't know what you want to hear.
I
don't know. No, so from what I gathered, it said that in the UK right now, 74% of UK people say that it's pet owners, I should say. 74% of UK pet owners say that they play, at some point they play music for their dogs. 25% of them play that music or something for their dog when they leave the house. So I guess that was probably be the catalyst for it, is that people, already are kind of doing this anyway. But from what I can gather is that they had a bunch of different options. So they have some options where they're going to be dependent on the dog's energy level. Apparently, they have more of
some moods.
Yes, and that's legitimately what it was specifying, is that there are moods. So they have, kind of a slow-paced, music for the dogs. They have, what's that? Oh, sorry. They have, yes. They have slow-paced music for the dogs. They have fast-paced music for the dogs. And they also have, apparently, now let me get the wording right on this. I believe it's called some kind of, it's basically what it is it's telling your dog how good they are. If you were in the house, you're,
so it's like positive reinforcement or
Yes.
like words of affirmation.
I think actually is what you just said is almost the exact wording on the whole thing. The Swedish audio streaming business company said it has launched a podcast featuring soothing music, dog-directed praise. Okay. So that's kind of, the praise aspect. Stories, And messages of affirmation and reassurance narrated by actors to alleviate stress for dogs who are home alone.
Actors, eh?
Yes.
So they're getting in a bunch of folks like.
Yes. It seems like somebody's actually paying. Sorry about that little technical difficulty, but basically, yeah. So if you want to, basically, what you can do is you can put the Spotify on. And you can have your dog sit at home and listen to a variety of stories. You can have him say nice things about your puppy. You can have nice, quiet music. I'll say this. I don't have a dog. I've had dogs my entire life. I love the idea. I love the idea of having my dog kind of be entertained. Here's the only thing I'll say. I do think it's giving dogs a little bit more credit than maybe they deserve. Because I've never put on a song and looked over and noticed that my dog was...
like tapping his paw along with the beat.
or somehow it changed his mood. But that's naive in thinking that if I put on classical music and my dog was sitting there laying on the ground, and then I put on like angry, screaming rock music and he was laying on the ground, I would feel that one of them would have a adverse effect on his mood, right? Yeah, I can see that, right?
I like the idea of there being some background music with the. I don't know if I need it to be constant, like words of affirmation, like just the whole day I'm gone, just how great my dog is.
Yes.
And then I come home and he's like peed on the floor and he's been told he's great all day long. Like,
that's kind of my job to tell him how great he is. You know,
like I want the praise coming from me, so he's like extra happy to see me.
Yes. So I think it's a funny idea. It is a funny story. I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see how successful it is, but as those words even come out of my mouth, I know that it is going to be successful because if 25% of the people are already doing it now, and now they actually have a playlist to go along with it, I think that it would definitely work.
To me, it seems like it's something most people have in their house, some sort of speaker or system that they can hook their Spotify up to or whatever, and it's like 2 clicks away. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure. So that's the first story. If you're somebody at home and you do have a dog and you do let your dog listen to music while you're gone, maybe send us a message. Tell us what you listen to, what you like to play for your dog. And have you ever noticed one way or the other, like on days where you don't play the music, is he in some kind of good mood or a bad mood, I should say. If you do play the music, is he relaxed? Is he passed out on the couch when you get home?
I think I might ask my mom to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, she has a dog at home, and she's gone at work for quite a while, and like the dog's like a little like wound up when she gets home.
Yeah,
just been home alone for a long time. So I'm just gonna maybe ask her to pop on the Spotify playlist and see if there's any difference.
After I get off this podcast, I'm gonna pop the Spotify playlist on. I just want to see what they consider dog.
Did we even look if it's actually live or is this like an upcoming thing?
I don't know. I just assume it's gonna be like I already assume it's gonna be like the cool like
elevator music.
No. I was thinking like the very generic radio stations that cover like the 90s, 2000s, and today, and it's just like a mixture of
all the smooth classics.
Yeah, right. It's no songs that people actually like, but a bunch of songs people have heard before. Yeah, that's what I imagine.
Like, oh yeah, that song.
Right. That radio station I hate to death, but every workplace I've ever worked at has a station on.
It's like it's the beige of music.
It's exactly what it is.
It is the least offensive. Any workplace can play it, and they know there's not going to be any lyrics that are questionable.
There's a bunch of one-hit wonders on there. For some reason, Maroon 5's on every third song.
Yeah. Coldplay a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I work at a second job, and they play some music, and it is like a certain vibe they're trying to get, and some of that music I even working there am like a little cringy at. Like I don't feel it's appropriate to be like played in public.
It's
as a business.
In what sense?
The language.
Oh, okay.
Some of these songs.
Like, okay, so we live in Los Angeles. For you guys who don't know, Lamb works multiple jobs, and so I'll say this though: Los Angeles is different though.
Yeah,
I've been to a Korean barbecue place. And they were playing angry rap.
Yeah.
And nobody in there spoke English. And I remember thinking, like, I wonder if they know how foul these language is or they don't care.
Yeah. And the job I work at, my second job, you have to be at least 18 to come in. So there is some buffer there that they can, like, kind of say, well, no children are coming here.
Cursing is one of these weird things.
But it's not just cursing.
Okay, it's a type of cursing.
It is inappropriate, like language, N-word, like hard words, and it like I'll be talking at work, and one of these songs will come on, and I'll stop what I'm saying, it's so jarring to me. And it's very, and I think maybe because it's not all the music is like that, it's like every 20th song is like that. It's very
F-U, whoa,
yeah. And you're like, there's like, families there, like, and stuff like that.
Timmy,
people on a date, like you're like, okay, like, all right.
So I'll say this: I think that cursing is very strange. Cursing is one of those things where, like, for me as a kid growing up, I always wanted to be able to curse. But I remember I was like 5 years old, and my granddad said "damn" one time in front of me, and I went to my mom and I said, "When am I going to be allowed to curse?" And like when do I get old enough? Like what age is it that you are? As soon as
is there
you
a
hit,
number?
Yeah, is there a number? Like you hit 17, you're allowed to say whatever you want. My mom said never. That was her answer to me, never. So that wasn't a good response, but she told me never. So then, but going forward, as a kid, every time I would curse up until like the age of 12, 13, 14, I felt bad. I was like, man, I probably shouldn't have said that word. Then you get to an age where cursing becomes totally normal, and it's part of your almost every third word. And then that kind of, I feel like that phase carries all the way through to like, I don't know, maybe like early 40s or something. And then at some point it starts to shift, the dynamic shifts the other way. And then as you start to get older again, curse words start to be harder to hear. Like my grandmother doesn't curse, right? But I know maybe at some point she did. I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, it's weird because like I would even say the shift happens earlier.
Okay.
I would say probably 30 is when you really like.
As soon as you become like a working adult with kids, kind of in that area, maybe.
Like I almost feel like when you're like when you start having like a career, and you realize like you can't just say whatever you want in any place. Like certain jobs kind of lend themselves to foul language.
Right.
Both of you and I have worked in restaurants, and the things that are said in the kitchen would probably get most people like incarcerated.
I mean, legitimately, I can't. I know there's like a lot of cooking shows, but there's not a lot of cooking shows that feature like normal, like mom and poppy restaurants that most of us are like, or Applebee's and things like that. There's not a show normally about that, because if you had a microphone in the back of a kitchen, you would hear things that would really scare your family, because the cursing is so prevalent that it's
the movie Waiting.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. That's a good example.
I have people I've watched that with, and they're like, no way. And I'm like, this is PG.
This is closer than you can get to what a normal restaurant is. But I've worked at like corporations too, where you get to the top, and the top people also are just F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. So, but that's kind of in private, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, long story short, I would say that, I guess we got sidetracked.
Let's find this how it's going to go.
Yeah, but cursing, I would say cursing for me is definitely one of those things there's an age group that really, really enjoys it, and then there's an older and younger that really doesn't think it's appropriate anymore. So, but it is just words. What's a story you have this week that you thought was interesting?
All right, we're going to go with... So apparently a woman... Well, before we even get into that, especially in California, I don't know if this is a nationwide thing, but in California, they have banned single-use plastic straws. I think unless you request them right now, I think they're going to phase them out eventually completely.
Unless they're like the cardboard straws.
Plastic straws.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
right.
Plastic straws.
You said that.
So they have cardboard straws, which are garbage.
Right.
Like, they work for 2 minutes, and then they get soggy. And then
sucks.
And then it just, doesn't work. It's not a straw anymore. Just a wet piece of paper in your drink.
Right.
But a new thing that a lot of people, I guess, are doing is these metal straws, these reusable metal straws, and you're supposed to maybe carry them with you. I've seen some telescoping ones that and they come with a little brush for cleaning them and stuff like that. So there's this new ways in which to not use plastic. But a woman in England died because she got impaled on this metal straw.
Okay, well, I at least have to ask, does it say, how she died? Was she,
She fell.
She
tripped and fell. I guess she was holding a drink with a metal straw, fell onto it, and boom.
God, it was almost like a matter of time before that happened, it feels like.
Honestly, it happened way sooner. Because it's, I don't think it's really even that common to see metal.
Hey. It's not a hot take. It almost deserves a fart noise. Poor lady died from a straw.
Yeah, we are not joking about the woman passing away. Obviously, that is terrible. But, gee, I was reading she impaled her eye.
Oh, my God. Okay, well, that makes the whole story way worse.
Yeah, I know. I read it, and it immediately gave me a physical reaction.
Okay, so let's
I
break
thought
down.
it was
Okay,
a
so
throat
here's,
or whatever.
me and you, I
but-
think, are a little bit on the different sides of the fence. I am not, like, you weren't put on this earth. Nobody told you, like, look, man, like, in this planet, you're allowed, like, freedom of speech. You're allowed, like, and straws. Yeah. Like, that. Like, nobody told you had to have a straw in this world. But I feel like everybody's grown up assuming that straws are cool. But the problem with straws is the problem with the million other things that people have issue with is that most of what we do is single use now. It's a single use bag. It's a single use straw. It's a single use cup. It's a single use plate. It's single use silverware. And if they're not recycled, I mean, me in a given day, I could fill a bag with the crap that's single use by myself, So if everybody's doing that, then that is an issue. And I don't know if we've come with a clear answer for how to do it. I don't really give a damn. I'll drink out of the side of a cup. But I do know that germophobic people are not that cool with that idea. Yeah. I'm cool. I like the ice hitting my mouth. Oh, yeah, it's cold. That.
I am not against reusable straws. I'm not against, that you should
You're
recycle.
trying to destroy the planet.
Yeah. My thought is it's the blanket ban.
Right.
Like, how about we just tell people that, like, plastic is bad and you shouldn't use this? I can still get, like, in California, for those folks that don't know, if I go to the grocery store and I want a bag for my groceries,
correct,
I have to pay 10 cents or a quarter or whatever they've decided
Plastic
that place.
is normally 10 cents. Paper is normally 5 cents.
Yeah, and you have to pay for these bags.
That's not nationwide, right?
That is not nationwide, because I was home for the holidays at Christmas and just went to the grocery store there, and they are just
doling them out.
Like, one item per bag.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, whatever.
Here's 1,000 grocery bags. We
Take
don't
10
care.
with you. We don't care.
Yeah. So there is a push. There's that. How about you charge for the plastic straw? If you want a straw, it's extra, or things like that. Make people think twice. And we've had this discussion before. 10 cents for a bag. I'm not, like, considering not getting a bag and trying to carry all my groceries out in my hands.
No. There's only a few things in this world that really I would even notice a small incremental price increase. I mean, if I was buying, like, an apple and it was 89 cents or it was 99 cents and one was $1.09, maybe I would notice. But I mean, think about it. If you're in the grocery store and you're buying a box of cereal and you really like that box of cereal and it's $2.88, and then, the next week you come in, it's $2.98, I'm still buying the box of cereal. That doesn't bother me either way. So at the end of the day, if I use 3 bags and it costs me 30 cents, that doesn't piss me off at all. Now, we did have an old roommate who worked at Trader Joe's who said that when they did introduce this new law, people had, like, a shit fit. People were like, I'm not paying you for bags, yada, yada, yada. But what actually happened is, and I think what happened, and people were really upset about it at first. And again, I don't like I said, it doesn't really upset me either way. But what really actually ended up happening is now when I go to a grocery store, one of these main chains, the person in front of me, inevitably, 75, 80% of the time, now has brought in a reusable bag with them, and they sell them at these stores, these reusable grocery bags. They bring them in, they actually give them to the grocer, they fill it up, and then they walk out and they bring them back in the next time, and they never have to pay for bags. What has actually happened is most people do that now. So that one law has actually shifted. And what you're talking about with the straws is maybe people will start to carry their own straws. I don't know, but I understand the idea. It's just it's implemented in such a weird way, and then everybody was forced to adjust with cardboard straws or metal straws, and I think we're at that phase where people aren't sure what the hell to do with it.
I mean, like, if you get any sort of fast food drink, you can still get a straw. You just ask for them and whatever. They won't give it to you automatically. But they need to just change these lids. Starbucks did this. They have these like sippy lids.
Oh, that's right.
And it's fine.
It's fine.
That's all I'm asking. Don't give me a drink that has a straw hole in it.
Yeah.
But not a straw.
That's true. That's actually really true, because McDonald's does this now. I'm not kidding. In California, if you go into a McDonald's and you get a drink, you have to ask for a straw. You have to specify. And that can be really annoying when you walk out and you realize they didn't give it to you, and your first instinct is to blame them, and you realize it's actually their job. And now I got out of the restaurant business right as this was heading in, but from the people I still know that work in the restaurant industry, they tell me that, they continually people get upset. They're like, hey, how come I didn't get a straw with my drink? And they say, oh, it's like, it's part of the new law. You have to ask for one. They're like, well, can I have a freaking straw? And it's like, people get upset. And it's like, look, it's my job, lady.
Yeah,
like,
and there will be this transition phase where people in a year will just ask water in a straw or whatever.
Right.
That'll be part of the new process.
If you're having a glass of soda, and I know you're not a huge soda drinker, but if you did have a glass of soda in a restaurant and they gave you the soda without a straw, but it was like a nice glass, do you care?
No.
Okay. So,
My main issue is with things that have lids.
Right.
With the straw. That's my main issue.
And the metal straw is dangerous. I mean, sounds like to me, it just sounds like a. I mean, it does sound dangerous. It sounds like, yeah. Okay, but let's say this.
And where am I going to carry this around?
Whatever happened to that lady, I'm not saying the plastic straw would have done the same amount of damage. She still probably would have been hurt with the plastic straw jamming in her eye. I'm not sure quite how that happened. Again, I guess everything could be a weapon, though. I mean, you got a pencil in your hand, you could die. I get it. Right.
But the idea, it's just, it really
trying to take these notes, I tripped, I fell into my heart. Oh,
yeah, I know. I'm sure it's happened once.
Right.
But like the idea for the metal straw is really what bothers me more. It's that now I have to carry this thing around.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Starbucks changing the lids.
That's
now you don't need a straw.
Yeah, those lids are actually kind of convenient. I really like them.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all I'm asking for. Like, don't just say no. You have to go out, pay money to fix the problem.
Right.
Like, no, you as a company come up with a solution.
Or, I mean, even the idea, somebody had the idea of like dissolvable straws, and I know that's not like the most popular idea, but
they do have biodegradable plastic.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think people were just cheap.
Yeah. And it does cost a lot more.
Right.
So and straws are basically 0
So we'll have to keep an eye on like some of these new laws, because I said the plastic bags was one, the straws is one, and I know that some
water thing was interesting to me. You worked in a restaurant when they changed that, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Like you had to ask for water. You couldn't just bring, because California was in such a drought.
California was in a drought, so I couldn't just show up at a table and bring you 4 glasses of water. And again, people would get perturbed over such a small thing. I thought I got water. I'm like, okay, we have to ask for water, but.
Now they just
ask. This is for you restaurant people. The biggest issue I had with it, and this is not a small sample size. I've worked in restaurants since I was 19 years old, 18 years old. I worked in there probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 years, if not more, in a restaurant before I got out. I would say, and if I had to ballpark, I would say 60% of the people I give water to, God damn it, if not higher, never even touch it. And that is not I'm sure the numbers are wrong, but I'm saying what would happen is I would go to a table, they'd say, hey, can I get you guys started? Everybody say, yeah, we'll just start with waters. I say, cool. I'd go get a bunch of waters, I'd come back, somebody get a soda, somebody get a Sprite, somebody get a Coke. And at the end of the table, we'd go and we'd pick up, and there'd be 6 people at the table, and 5 of those waters were completely untouched.
Yeah,
and
maybe a sip.
Maybe a sip. And it would happen at every table. Most tables were like this. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of people that drink water decently, but there's a lot that order it out of just pure reaction, almost autopilot mode.
We're going to do a whole episode on things you shouldn't do at restaurants / bars. And one of them is being the person who orders water for the table.
Yes, don't order water for the table if you don't know if everybody likes water, because legitimately, like we said, I mean, it sounds dumb, but yeah, I mean, California is in a drought, and there's massive issues. I mean, Australia's in a drought. There's places that actually have these issues. Just to roll in and say, I want 10 waters, and 9 of them don't get,
And then those glasses have to get, the water gets thrown away.
They have to be cleaned again.
And have to get washed in the dishwasher.
Right. If you want water, drink the water. If you're going to ask for water and just put it next to your side, then you are annoying. That's just what it is. I mean, that's what it is. I'm not going to order 40 napkins and then just leave the table with 40 napkins on the table.
You have to throw them away.
Right.
Because I can't reuse them.
Yeah, I don't want to get into too many restaurant people because it's going to make me cranky. But, yeah, so that's a good one. Let's jump on to the next subject there. The plastic straws we will keep an eye on. If you're somebody at home that carries a metal straw, if you hate the whole straw argument, throw us some feedback. Tell us what you think. If you're sitting at home, you're like, I don't give a damn about these straws. Perfect. You're on my side. Let's see here. Let's do a positive, a quick one. This is about a month old, but this story actually made me chuckle out loud. Apparently in Colorado last month around Christmas time, I guess this isn't funny all the way through, but it's funny to me. A Colorado man robbed a bank. He was like a 65-year-old man. He went in. They said that they specified in the article that he did not have a weapon, but he acted as if he could have had a weapon.
So he's got like the finger in the pocket kind of thing?
That's what I'm imagining.
Stick him up.
Yeah, or like a plastic bag over his hand, maybe his finger in the shirt, you know what I mean? Maybe
like reaching into a pocket and you don't know what I got in there.
Twirling nunchucks. I don't know. I don't know what he was pretending to do. We went in, robbed the bank. They said he made it out with, again, banks are always so weird about this. They never specify how much money they lost, which I always find weird. They never specify. So it said he left with an undisclosed amount of money. But the second he got outside, he was in a white beard, which makes the whole thing even weirder. The second he got outside to the street corner, he proceeded to start throwing it all into the air, screaming "Merry Christmas."
So Santa is real.
and he's inspired by Robin Hood, apparently.
Yeah, Santa and Robin Hood could get along. I can see that for sure.
Right. So he goes in, he steals thousands of dollars. He proceeds to throw these thousands of dollars into the street, yelling "Merry Christmas," and then. The weirdest part of the story is apparently after he was done throwing the money all up and down the streets, apparently he sat down and he was done. And he waited for the cops to come and arrest him, and that was the end of his day. So that was like his end-all goal was that. So like he made it. He did it.
Now, a couple thoughts. One, does it specify yes or no whether this man was homeless?
It doesn't specify whether he was homeless. I would say that he looked like a normal guy, but I would venture to say it's almost for sure he had some kind of mental illness. I mean, right? That's not
well,
normal.
Because it is not uncommon for a homeless person, especially in winter months, to commit some sort of crime, to be put in jail where it is warm and they get food.
Yeah, that's possible too. That doesn't specify in the article.
I'm just curious,
but that would be a great crime to commit to slide into a jail.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. No one's upset at you. You're you're not gonna really get yourself.
You didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, you're not getting any crazy amount of jail time.
Even the lady, the teller at the desk, probably wasn't that threatened with your old finger in the pocket trick.
Exactly. He's a very pleasant guy. Actually,
he took a lollipop.
Thanks.
Now, my actual favorite part of the story, I am a little bit of an anarchist. I like the chaos. Is apparently that the bank has said there are still thousands of dollars that have not been returned. Apparently, a lot of people did return the money. People came back and said, "Yeah, I picked a bunch of it off the street and they returned it." Apparently, though, a lot of people have not returned it. So, two things: A, if they do try to turn it in somewhere, maybe another bank or something, they could get caught. So
theoretically, but
because of the numbers on the money,
I don't know how close they're tracking the actual numbers.
Well, I would guarantee
because the stuff in the drawer, there's people depositing. Like that stuff's in and out fast.
I agree, but I almost guarantee the banks know the numbers. Well, you're right. I don't know.
I'm sure in the back, like the stacks and stuff, like the actual money,
where the golds and the gems
are. Yeah, all the jewels. That
they're all swimming in after hours.
The Scrooge McDuck.
The vault that they all dive into after hours.
Yeah. I don't think the drawers are that well counted because it's just not any real significant money for those banks.
Once again, the show's called Two Dumb Idiots. We have no idea what we're talking about.
Neither one of us has ever worked in a bank. We can, however, we'll speak on some things we do kind of know about, like the restaurants and bars. We'll talk about that and actual things. But like I said, I think the drawer, because like if you go in and if I give him $20 for 2 rolls of quarters, he just takes that 20 and sticks it in.
Actually, that's actually a really good point. That actually reminds me of a quick anecdote. One time I banked with Bank of America. One time I went into a Bank of America. I was depositing money. I was bartending. Mm-hmm. So I always deposited cash in like kind of clean amounts, $1,500, $1,000, whatever. So I went in that day with that exact idea. I think it was less than that. I think it was only like $700. So I went in, I deposited $700. I wrote out the piece of paper. I handed it to the pay lady. She handed me my receipt. I went home. I got home. I looked at my wallet. The $700 were still there in my wallet. I looked at my account. They had added $700 to my account. The lady had never taken the money from me. Obviously, your first instinct as a human being is to say, I did it. Yeah. I got away with it. I'm the man. I'm $700 richer. They're never going to notice. And then immediately that thought escapes your brain because you're like, they're not idiots. They're going to notice that within like 30 seconds. So I went back to the bank. Because I knew they were going to catch me anyway. It wasn't like I was going to get away with it.
Yeah, you might get a day or two out of it.
And so actually I found this out. So I went back in, like literally 20 minutes later, and I went back to the lady, and I said, hey, the same teller. I said, excuse me, you rang me up here like, 40 minutes ago or whatever. I told you what I was depositing, but you didn't actually take the money. She disagreed with me. She says, no, I took it. I said, look, I'm not sitting here to argue with you. I said, if you want to tell me you take it, that's fine. But I'm telling you, your count is probably $700 short. She says, okay, before you leave, let me just double check it and make sure you're not crazy. She double checks it. Sure enough, she's $700 short. She goes blush red. She's super embarrassed. She's, I can't believe, thank you so much for coming back. And I asked her, I said, what would have happened And she said, oh, we'd have noticed like 10 minutes from now. I said, what? She said, we have to count our drawers every hour. So 10 minutes from now, I'd have counted. We'd have been exactly $700 short. They'd have looked and noticed 40 minutes ago, somebody deposited $700. They'd have taken it right back out of your account. So I was good for going back in, made her day. But, yeah, banks make mistakes. But, again, they do track that at a very, like, hour-to-hour basis. But this guy throwing money in the streets, like you said, maybe he just took money from the tellers and they really didn't have the actual money counted. I think that money's as good as going now. But do I feel bad? No. The banks are all secured for that exact reason. They're insured for that exact reason. Yeah. But I would love to be the guy running on the street. All right, real question, though. Mm-hmm. You're the guy running on the street. You're coming from a Jamba Juice or whatever. You're rolling through the street. All of a sudden, this guy 100 yards away is just chucking money in the air. The wind's blowing it. You reach down and you pick up $500 in your hand. Do you take it?
Yeah. Now, if it's like a duffel bag full of money that I feel like is really like somebody's or something, or if I like found like somebody's like wallet and it was full of money, I'm returning that. That belongs to a person.
I agree with that.
Like,
I'm the same way. I found a wallet in Boston one time that wasn't mine. I worked really hard to try and get back to this person. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for those people.
Like that's like Bank of America losing $500. They've taken probably more than $500 in fees from me over the years.
I was literally about to say, where's the yeah. I was literally about to say, if it was like a reputable, awesome company that I knew the money had come from, it may be a different story. The banks can shove it up their ass. I literally, in the last 20 years, they have done nothing but screw people over. I mean, literally, what's the Wells Fargo was opening fake accounts under people's names. Yeah. Bank of America charges you every nickel and dime they can anytime they turn a corner. And so for me, they have literally done nothing but rob people at all times. I don't like them. I just need their business. I need to use them because that's how the world works. But I don't think that they're reputable companies. I don't think that they treat people fairly. And the people that really get hurt the most from banks are poverty-driven people. So if you're poor and all of a sudden you overdraft, oh, that's $35. Why? Why does it cost you $35 for me to overdraft by accident? It doesn't, you know?
I got an email the other day. And I was like, offer for if you open a checking account, you get like extra money in your account. I was like, clicked on it. It was interesting. It said you could get up to $1,500 like added to your account if you had a average balance of over $200,000 in your checking account.
They would give you
$1,500.
That's not even 1% at that point. They're giving you
0.75%.
0.75% extra money in your $200,000 if you're willing to give it.
Yeah,
but that shows you how much money they're making off my money.
Yeah,
right. They're totally willing to give you $1,000 if you're going to put in 200 large. So if you have money, it's easy to make money.
That's
if you're
less
broke,
than interest. If I put that money in a savings account, that same money, I would make more money than you'd give me if I put it in a checking account.
If it was like a mom, I don't even know if they exist anymore. If I was like in the middle of the Kansas and they had like a mom and pop bank, it was like a like a one-off. Again, I might even think about it. But as far as these big banks go, I know for the most part they're just robbing people and screwing everybody over. So I'm taking the money and I'm running with it. I'm not turning it in, and they can suck it. If you would disagree with us, if you think that we're horrible people for not turning it back in, let us know where we're wrong. What are we jumping on? What are we missing? Like I said, I know they're insured. I know they're going to get that money back. It's like anything. It'd be like if I insured my car and it set on fire. The bank's just going to try and tell them as much money as they possibly think could go on missing so they can get it all back. So
there's a reason they say undisclosed amount.
Right. So
because they're like, it could have been 200,000.
Right. So, great story though. I'm not condoning anybody rob banks, but if you are going to do it, might as well throw it in the middle of the air. Be awesome. That's what I say.
I like this guy.
He made the news for being awesome. So, let's
also
see
went
here.
to jail, but
There you go. Let's go on to one that is really jumping right now. I have not been able to open my phone without one of these articles popping up. Miss Gwyneth Paltrow and her punk-ass site called Goop. And I'm calling it punk-ass site because I'm sure somebody likes it, but from what I've read, I don't like any of it. So
it's a bunch of goop is all I'm saying.
It's a bunch of gobbledygook.
Yep.
So if you don't know, Gwyneth Paltrow, 2008, started a website called Goop. I should have looked up why she called it Goop. It's probably the worst name I've ever heard for a website.
I think that's what she called her drink. Because it was a mix of a bunch of things.
I thought it maybe stood for something
Again, we're idiots. I'm spitballing here.
Yes. Basically, what they sell in there are a variety of any kind of health benefit-y type stuff. They sell candles and lotions and
very new age.
Yeah, and they sell, but a lot of it is pseudoscience. So it's cleansers and things, but they have been in a lot of trouble. They have been legally already sued and lost the lawsuit for $145,000 to somebody because what they're actually getting in trouble for is a lot of the stuff they sell on there. Factually, they cannot justify. So they'll say something like, if you drink this detoxer drink, your depression symptoms will go down. Or if you do this, you will have less anxiety. If you do this, you will feel happier. Things that are not verified, things that have not been proven, things that have not been studied. So I know a doctor went on there at one point and said that he looked over about 110 of the products that he specialized in, women's products, and he said of the 110, he could only find 10 of the products that actually had legitimate claims to help you. The other, whatever it was, 90 there, another 100, excuse me. The other 100 were completely unverifiable, were making claims that were wildly inaccurate. So like I said, helping depression and all these kinds of things. She also has a candle on there that you can buy that's also gotten a lot of traction. Kevin has 11 of them, which I think is weird.
Well, there's a reason it's sold out.
that is true. Somebody else said this too, that the reason... Okay, let's start this. The candle is called This Smells Like My Vagina. Am I correct?
That is the exact quoted...
Sorry.
Oh, boy.
That is the exact quoted scent of the candle. This smells like my vagina. That candle is sold out. Somebody went publicly, some celebrity recently said that the only reason it's sold out is because of horny men. I'm a dude. I don't need a vagina candle in my room. That's weird and sketchy. And
I'm going to invite you over. And be like, this girl's going to walk in and be like,
hey, babe, now do you feel comfortable in here? like, you know what I mean?
Does it smell like the ladies' locker room?
Yeah,
I don't know.
The whole thing is very strange to me.
All right, so I'm going to read you the description of the candle.
All right, so
This is from their website.
Let me get ready here and,
Okay.
All right, give it to me. The ladies' candle smells like vagina. Give it to me.
Okay, the description reads, with a funny, gorgeous, sexy, and beautifully unexpected scent, this candle is made from geranium, citrusy bergamot, and cedar absolutes, juxtaposed with damask rose and ambriette seed, to put us in a mind of fantasy, seduction, and a sophisticated warmth.
So what they're claiming is it's almost an aphrodisiac. It's almost a little bit aphrodisiac, is right? Kind of in a sexy
I think that's
mood.
what you're getting. Yeah, you're getting some seduction and fantasy, yeah.
Without being too graphic, I think everybody's vagina smells different to a certain extent. It kind of just smells like your body.
They don't claim to be a vagina-scented candle.
Oh.
This is specifically Gwyneth Paltrow's.
Vagina. Okay, that's important too, I guess. I mean, it does say this smells like my vagina. Okay, but that's my point. Everybody's vagina smells different. That's a really weird thing to claim, and not to mention she's claiming hers seems like lavender and citrus and all sorts of beautiful things, which is
pop quiz.
Uh-huh.
How much do you think this candle cost?
Yikes! If it's over $20, I'm gonna be upset.
You're gonna be so upset.
Well, I'm gonna be upset. I'm already upset that it's not $20.
$75.
Get the fuck out of my face, dude. That without getting too upset, that's exactly why it's sold out. Because guys are sitting home like, it's $75. It's gotta smell like your vagina.
It's gotta make her so ready to go.
Or it's gotta get these women all riled up. I'll get this vagina candle. I'll be laying.
I would love to know the numbers on women to men who've purchased.
Damn it, that's so true. I guarantee she has a stat on that. How many guys?
I don't think they have that.
But
stat,
the other
because it's just like it's online. I don't.
The other issue I have with the site is it's not aimed at everybody. It's not a site for all women. They have bath towels on there at $116. Yeah. They have a lamp that's supposed to help your mood at $7,400. A $7,000 lamp that's supposed to, I don't know, help your mood and whatever.
If I had $7,000, that would help my mood.
Agreed. Just give me the $7,000 back and I'll be in a much better mood. So those are the main issues people have. So far, there's been at least 50 problematic health claims, things that they're claiming that are real health benefits.
Yeah,
that people have massive issues.
As a result of their lawsuit, they have now been barred from making any claims about the efficacy of their products that aren't backed by reliable science, and from selling misbranded, unapproved, or falsely advertised medical devices.
The other thing I saw was a $400 knife. Just real quick tangent there, but here's my thing with the whole website. there's two arguments. One is that Gwyneth Paltrow is totally cool with the amount of negative publicity it's getting because it's, in this day and age, publicity is publicity. That's the bottom line. There's a lot of people that, who the girl from Dr. Phil is that, what's that
Catch
girl?
Me Outside?
Catch Me Outside. She's not a good person, but everybody knows who she is, right? There's a lot of people in this world that have become famous from really negative things. So sometimes negative publicity is real publicity. So there is people saying
made literal careers.
But also, it does taint my image of you. And I'm going to say that quite bluntly. If somebody I knew and respected came out with a website and they were selling things and claiming they did things that they did not, I would have an issue with that person because now you look like Joel Epstein. You look like you look like a scam artist. You look like somebody that's obviously pitching something internally, knowing that's not true just to make a buck. And it's not like Gwyneth Paltrow is some random lady who is trying to make a living. She's already rich. She's a movie star, so it's not like she needed.
It feels like she's capitalizing on her fame,
right,
to create the buzz, and then now
and to sell something that tells
feels
people
very like she's preying on people.
Right. It does feel predatorial in the sense that she's going after things that people really do struggle with, and a lot of people struggle with depression. A lot of people struggle with anxiety. A lot of people struggle with their own smells and their body and image and all these things. And she's preying on that weakness in you and saying, if you want to solve this, I can give it to you for $1,000.
Yeah, I got this lamp, $7,000.
Here's the counter argument, and this is where my practicality jumps in. You're a fucking idiot if you bought it anyway. And I honestly feel like that. If you really went out and bought a candle for $70 and you thought it was going to help your depression, you're a moron. If you really bought a $7,000 lamp because you thought it was going to help your mood, you're an idiot. So it's like, there's that old, I don't know what the adage is, but if you have money and you're stupid enough to give it away, then you didn't deserve the money in the first place is basically the idea. And I feel that a little bit here. If you're stupid enough to buy a $7,000 lamp, then you were probably stupid enough to spend that $7,000 on something stupid anywhere. You were probably going to turn the corner and buy something stupid with it anyway. That being said, I just don't like celebrities taking advantage of that idea.
I don't have any problem with her selling any product for any price.
Let's start right there. That's 1,000% true.
I have
hot take.
Yeah, a little remix on the hot take. I like it. Again, I don't have any problem with her selling any product on her website for any price. That is her prerogative, and she is welcome to do it. It's when you say
it does
something, and it can't be proven to do that.
I agree with that 100%.
You are giving people false hope. You are preying on people that are potentially damaged and broken.
It goes right back to the lamp. A lamp, anything in this world is worth what somebody will pay for it. Yeah. That's the bottom line. If I say this lamp is dope and everybody loves it and you think it's something from IKEA but somebody else is going to pay me a grand for it, then it's worth $1,000. If I tell you that the lamp is, only worth $100 and then I tell you, though, it solves depression and anxiety, and I'm like, but I could sell it to you for $1,000. Now you falsely think it's worth $1,000 because I've said things that it doesn't do.
Yeah,
that'd be like me selling a car to you that says, hey, it gives me 100 miles to the gallon and it gets 10. At 100 miles to the gallon, that car would be worth $50,000. At 10, it would be worth $5,000. So there is legitimate price fluctuations depending on facts, and her facts are very poor. So that's the issue I have with Goop. Sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, and but I do want to keep hearing about it. Part of me hopes she gets sued by 11,000 people, and they're all like bringing their candles in.
Yeah, they have a little a thing outside.
This doesn't smell like your vagina.
Yeah, they just fill the room with them, so the whole room.
This lamp didn't help anything. Yeah, it didn't even come with a bulb.
Those are extra. Those are $6,000.
So I'm hoping the lawsuits spiral wildly out of control. It makes me think you're a bad person. I don't want to be rude, but it does. Maybe people love.
It feels very snake oil.
Yes, it very feels snake oil. It feels like she's shilling out snake oil to people that aren't smart enough to know better, or maybe she's banking on the fact that people like her. I don't know. I think the whole thing's cruddy. I think if you bought anything from the site, really thought it would help, you need to reevaluate the way you're purchasing.
If anybody bought anything from Goop and it magically worked,
Please tell. If you bought anything from Goop at all, even if you're like, I don't care, I'm shameless, I was an idiot, I can't believe I bought this.
Yeah, I got. Oh yeah, if you got suckered into something,
you bought a $115 bath towel, and it was supposed to make your bosom smell or your butthole smell like a flower.
It dries you better than other towels somehow.
Right? Yeah, it pulls moisture from years ago. Yeah,
that old moisture that's really down deep inside your skin.
That dirty moisture that you can't get rid of. Yeah, that's what this bath towel does. It helps you lose weight. I don't know. I'd love to hear your stories. We will definitely talk about this one more. I got tons of shit to say on gobbledygook. Let's go on to something a little bit more light just for a second here. Let's see.
Everybody got a little fired up on that one.
The gobbledygook, man. Let's see here. What you got? Anything that's? Oh, you know what? Here's a cool one. Here's a little. We don't have to even get a tangent on it. But in Orlando, if you're anywhere, anybody on the East Coasters, I have a cousin, Mr. Paul. He's been on the show on a video game discussion. Out there in Orlando, in March, they are releasing a pop-up bar made out of 1 million Legos. So you can roll in, they'll be serving drinks. It's going to be completely made out of Legos. They're going to have Lego structures all over the place that you can look at.
I saw this actually a while ago. The coolest thing about this that I saw, and I hope it's true, I don't know if it is when you get the menu, you look at it, and to order, you have to build your like specific thing, and it reads that Lego like a barcode.
Oh, that's really cool.
And then that's how you order. So like, it's like a stack of certain colors in certain orders or whatever, and they give you like their Legos on the table, I guess, and you build it.
I really hope that's true for 2 reasons. One, that makes the entire bar unique. But 2, as a bartender who I know exactly how obnoxious people are, it would give me a little time to make drinks while you fiddle and fuck and try to put that thing together.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah. I'm over here muddling strawberries and oranges. Give me a second. Hey, could you put the Legos together first? I'll be there in just a second. I have no idea what you want.
Yeah, get your Legos.
What's the strawberry lemonade? Build it first, lady.
You know how it's done.
Yeah, so that's really cool. They're also going to have building contests there, so they're going to have competitions for people that can build. That's going to be really, really cool.
I have to say, I love Legos. Legos as a kid, I had a lot of like toys, and you enjoy them and stuff like that.
You started with a stick, though, really.
There was
a rock. And a wheel? Do you want to say wheel?
I was going to say, yeah.
The stick and the wheel.
Yeah, it was a hoop. Look, it was a metal hoop from the barrel, but it worked.
If it was 1775 and somebody gave me a hoop and a stick and I got to push it down the road, I could see how it would be fun if I'd never seen it before.
It's not as bad as you think it is. But Legos are the most creative.
Great for your brain.
Great toy. I can't, the only issue I have with Legos is they've become kind of, in a way, too popular, where they're now have you tried to buy a Lego set? They are wildly expensive now.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Wildly expensive for what, because you want so many.
So when I was
we always had a bucket.
That's what we had. We had a bucket of Legos, and I look back and I think, as Legos progressed, and maybe it was always this way, but as Legos progressed, I noticed that you could buy you could buy this and you could build the Star Wars Death Star or something, something crazy, and it was meant to build a specific thing. When I was a kid, I just had a bucket of Legos, and every day you started from scratch, and you would build whatever you wanted to build that day. I don't think I ever really tried to build anything.
I had a couple sets later, like the Lego Technics. They were the fancy ones, and you could build cars that had steering wheels and then turn the wheels and it had gears and the engine moved, and it was but that was more of a project, and they were fun, but you built them and then you put them on your shelf, because then you couldn't build that much other stuff with that.
But you look at kids nowadays.
But now it's
every kid I've seen, anywhere in the last 5 years, if their parents or something are rolling them through a grocery store or whatever, they have an iPad in front of them just kind of drooling over that. But I hope that's just because they're entertaining when they're out. When a kid gets home, I needed that kind of stimulation. I needed a Lincoln Log to mess with my brain. I needed a Lego to get lost in it and challenge my curiosity. I had all these action figures, and you would set up wars and battles, but you lived in your imagination. You had your brain really, really thinking, critically thinking, and so I think Legos are really good. Now, I'll say this. As much as everybody liked Legos, I did play with Legos. I do think it's a personality type. Legos were not my favorite thing to do. I was much more short attention span. I didn't really always love building things, so that wasn't really my favorite thing to do. But my brothers love them. Now, he's also an artist. He likes to draw, so I could kind of see the structural component that he really enjoyed. Not for me, though. So, again, it was good for my brain. I like the whole Lego things. I hope that they never die. It does seem like they struggle a little bit to stay relevant nowadays.
I did. There's a whole series on Netflix. It's The Toys That Made Us. And they do a whole thing on Lego. And they had some, like, downturns, and now they're kind of on an upswing. There's things like that I didn't realize, like they have branched out into the commercials, not commercials, TV shows, plus the Lego movies, things like that, where like they've kind of had a resurgence lately, and I'm glad to hear it. But if you dumped a bucket of Legos on this table right now, I could sit here for hours.
Okay, I would sit here for 30 minutes. So that's the difference. 30 minutes, I make a house that I think is moderately impressive. I know it's not impressive, so I don't get excited, and then I give up and I move on to something else. It's not how my brain works. I would, in the same breath, if me and you went outside and I threw you a football, I could throw you a football for hours. Like just in my head, that would be.
And me, it would be the inverse. 30 minutes, I'd be like, yeah, I got it out of my system.
Right. Nah. See, I could, but again, just depends on the personality. But anyway, Orlando, if you're there in March. Go see this damn Lego bar. Somebody got to see it. I want to see somebody.
Yeah, I want it to be super popular, so they open them up other places.
Agreed. Lamb, you have another story? I got a bunch here, but that's.
Well, yeah. We got a big one. We'll see what your thoughts are on it. It's going to be kind of a surprise for you.
I've already pissed off. Does that count?
Nah.
Okay.
Doesn't count at all. Not one bit.
Where's the womp womp? You need the womp womp. Yeah.
The Cybertruck.
Never heard of it.
Wow.
The Cybertruck? Sorry, folks. I'm sorry. If everybody's like, what are you, an idiot? Yes, I'm an idiot. Look, I heard a lot of stuff. What's the Cybertruck?
All right, so the Cybertruck. So you're familiar with Tesla, correct?
Uh-huh.
I
heard of the Cybertruck. Yeah, I've heard of the Cybertruck. Yeah. Okay, and it was called the Cybertruck.
Yeah,
yes. Okay.
Yeah. So Elon Musk, decides to roll this thing out onto the stage. And
this is where the glass breaks.
Yeah, the glass broke and all that. Hey, whatever. Live, I'm all for it. The man is trying. The man is putting things out there.
For those who don't know, tell us real quick, 10 seconds. What happened with the glass?
So Elon Musk decides he's going to build a pickup truck. He's built mainly cars or SUVs up to this point. They're going to build a pickup truck. It supposedly has bulletproof windows and like basically indestructible panels made out of steel. So they hit the panel, then they throw a metal ball at the windshield, at the driver's side window, immediately smashes it. Not completely through, I will say. And then they're like, oh, well, maybe we threw it a little too hard. And they throw it a second time, breaks again.
Yeah.
And then they said, the hitting with the hammer first, weaken the glass, and it created this thing. Either way, this is the earliest stages. They have years to figure this thing out.
I'm already excited that somebody's trying something cool, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock somebody for trying something different.
The most divisive design I've ever seen.
See, this is very differently than the Goop story because they're claiming that it's bulletproof, and then when they threw a rocket, it obviously shattered. Now, like you said, it didn't go through it, but obviously shattered. Elon Musk is not somebody to tell something that it works if it doesn't. If he would already be upset by that, he's going to go back, and I'm sure they're going to work on it even more. It's not trying to sell you something that doesn't work. He's trying to sell you something awesome at an expensive price, right? That's the difference here.
Yeah, and so they did their pre-orders for $100. You could supposedly put your your name down and everything like that. And they had some ungodly number. I'm gonna have to look up the actual number because it's skyrocketed since then. But all these people supposedly are interested in this very divisive design. Are you familiar with the design?
I'm familiar with design. Design is it is something out of a futuristic magazine is what it looks like. It looks like something you would see in a doomsday movie or a post-apocalyptic movie of some kind. And I think that's the idea. The idea is to be edgy and different. Again, like me and you said, you can make whatever you want and you can charge whatever you want in this world. And like you said, people are already jumping on board because whether some people hate it, apparently thousands of people love it.
It said they got 250,000 pre-orders in 5 days.
So 250,000 people already think it's something that's really, really awesome.
In 5 days. And then since then, I'm sure it's up to maybe 500,000.
Why do I need a truck that's bulletproof?
I think the idea isn't necessarily that it's bulletproof. The word bulletproof, I think, is used to show how strong it is, how tough it is. Just to go out there and say, we have the toughest truck panels ever. Nobody has a frame of reference.
That's true.
I think that you're using that word bulletproof as like a very easy to understand.
2 questions, though. I guess, and you're not going to have the answer to either of them.
Yeah.
But 2 questions is it safe for the other drivers around them? In the sense that, like, I'm sitting at a stoplight and this guy forgets to hit his brake and slams in the back of me. Does this metal, death truck just eviscerate my car and kill everybody in his path?
Mm-hmm.
1. And 2, is it actually much, much, much safer to drive? And that's the real selling point. So it's like, hey, if you have your family in here and you guys roll over a bridge and drop 100 feet onto the ground, you're still going to live. Or maybe you get sideswiped by a pickup that you're still going to be fine. Is that the angle, maybe? I mean, that I could understand. If I have kids, I don't have kids, but if I did,
I would imagine, like, this is a giant machine based on what I've seen of it on the stage and everything like that. So if you're at like a stoplight and this thing's going 5 miles an hour and hits you, it's going to be the same as any other truck hitting you. At a high-speed collision, I would assume, because it is gigantic and it is supposedly going to be well-made, it should be designed with crumple zones like most cars are and stuff like that. Teslas are considered some of the safest cars on the road in all the crash tests. So I would think they would take those things into account, that there would be like safety zones and stuff like that. By its just nature being bigger and heavier, it's going to create more damage.
And it's also going to be safer, I guess.
Yeah.
It almost feels like an attempt to fill the void that Humvee left. Because I remember when I was a kid.
I'd never even thought of that
because
until you said it. But
when I was a kid, there was the military grade Humvee that everybody thought was badass. Even I was a kid, I thought it badass. And it was this vehicle that the Army and military was using and it was rolling through, it was bulletproof, everybody thought it was awesome. And then you started seeing them on the road, and I don't know, I guess at first people were buying military grades.
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was like in love with them and had a bunch of them, and he kind of like
and the
popularized
military grades were badass, right? And then they started coming out with like the ones for the roads, and everybody thought
H2.
And I thought they were so fucking lame, but that's my personal opinion. They were gas guzzlers, they were lame. I thought they were super.
They were always yellow.
Yeah, they never looked military.
People driving
anymore.
them shouldn't have been.
Yeah, they looked like shoe boxes, and I never thought they were really that cool. And I think that's why they fizzled out. All of a sudden, they were this gas guzzling machine that was no longer military exciting looking and whatever. But I think people originally liked them because it was a big, tough vehicle they could protect their family and look awesome in, and feel very safe in. And I think that now I can't even tell you the last time I've seen a Humvee on the road anymore. And I live in LA, so I can't tell you the last time I've seen one. I guess this is probably the best place to see them. But
we'll just say we see a lot of cars.
I see every car. I see Ferraris are gas guzzlers, and we see those. But I think that maybe it's an attempt to fill that void of a badass truck that is a little bit expensive that nobody sees very often. And I don't know. Maybe it's a clever idea. I can't wait to see if it actually happens, and I can't wait to see one on the road one day. And I would love to be
Well, we do live in LA, and it's already been on the road.
Okay.
That was a little snafu, if you will. Elon Musk was driving it out in the world at, I believe, Nobu, which is a restaurant in Malibu, and he was leaving there, and there's a video of it, and there's this big sign on leaving the parking lot that says no left turn, so he takes a left turn, takes out the sign that says no left turn.
Ironically.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But he's just out having a good time driving this truck around, so
All right.
it actually works, I guess. He got at least one of them that works.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to see if people actually... Any idea what the starting price is?
Well, there's going to be 3 levels, depending on how many motors, I guess, you want,
Okay.
And stuff like that. And the 3-motor one supposedly is going to be crazy. But let's take a look and see what they say here on the website. Their current prices.
I'm curious. Like I said, I know the Humvee. I remember when it first came out, like the military grade Humvee was like $100,000 or something crazy. And then over the course of time, all those, like you said, the H2 and all these other junky Hummers started coming out underneath $70,000.
So single motor, rear wheel drive, $39,900.
So that's like a Toyota Camry with like bulletproof windows.
Yeah.
It's real wheel drive, single motor. It's a very standard truck that just happens to be a little bit more armored.
Yeah, the dual motor, all wheel drive is $49,900.
So that seems like a much better purchase.
Yeah.
If I had 50
if you're
grand.
going,
If you're
might
getting
as
a
well.
Tesla Jeep.
Then they got a tri-motor,
Why do I need 3 motors?
all wheel drive, $69,900.
Well, that's still, I would say it's like, honestly, half the price of any of those I was expecting.
Yeah, like
Very reasonably priced.
So the tri-motor, let's take a look here. So part of it is its range, supposedly 500 plus miles.
On one tank of gas.
On one tank of gas in the electric truck.
Oh, is it electric?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was electric.
Oh, yeah, all electric.
Oh, I assumed it took some gas.
Oh, no, all electric.
Ah, well, that's way more interesting. Then now
Yeah.
I got stability, safety, and I'm saving
Yeah,
gas.
they're saying supposedly the back panels they'll put some. They can put in, or they're planning on putting in some solar panels, so it might even be able to like self-charge.
Oh, wow.
A little bit,
Okay.
like So I don't think it would ever be able, because solar technology is pretty junky at this
Yeah.
point. I don't think it'd ever be able to charge enough to like fill the battery, but you could theoretically like have enough to maybe get to its like a station or something if you're out in the wilderness
Okay.
for a week and camping. In that week, it might recharge the battery or whatever.
Okay.
14,000 pounds of towing capacity on the tri-motor, and a 0 to 60 of less than 2.9 seconds.
What?
Yeah.
That seems almost impossible. I would have to watch that happen.
Yeah. Like the numbers they're putting out for this thing is crazy. Like even, like the single motor is pretty, like in comparison, pretty junky. It's 250-mile range, 750 pounds of 7,500 pounds of towing, and a 6.5 second 0
Yeah,
to
that
60.
seems way more realistic. But yeah, okay.
The thing that makes it sound so ridiculous with 6.5 seconds 0 to 60, that is quite fast for like a car, for a truck. Yeah,
So
like a very
so
heavy
if I have
truck.
3 motors, then I got to go home, and that thing's gonna have to charge forever, right?
No, well, the motors themselves are
Whatever
independent.
battery, okay.
So I would assume it has a larger battery.
Okay.
To power
Right,
3
that's what I
motors
meant, yeah.
and all
So it's
that
gotta
stuff.
be- yeah.
So yeah.
I would assume it has to charge a decent amount. I didn't know it was all electric. I would assume it took some gas just because of how big it is. But that's fascinating. That actually does make it kind of interesting. Any idea when the release date is?
I think 2020. Tri-motor expected in late 2021.
Okay, so next year sometime.
Late.
So
maybe December. New
Okay.
Year's Eve.
So 2 years from now, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really 2 years.
All right. Well, we'll catch up if we hear anything else interesting on that. That is
Yeah,
interesting.
I gotta call Elon. He hasn't responded to my email.
I haven't sent an email. It was over to the one they gave me.
Elon
Tesla info.
Yeah. Elon at musk.com doesn't seem to be working, but I gotta look into it.
Probably gave me the wrong one. Probably missed a point or a period somewhere.
I know. It's just, I think it's a comma instead of a period or something. I don't know.
All right. Another one here I wanted to jump on that you had actually given me. So I looked into it. Apparently, a teacher was fired.
Yes. This one.
For giving their students zeros if they didn't turn in their homework. So just for perspective, apparently in this school district,
This is in Florida, by the way.
and apparently this is in a lot of school districts, is what you told me.
I when I read the story, I had actually taught in a district that has this policy. As
Okay.
far as I know, still does.
So the policy was that you never give students zeros on anything. If the student comes in and they didn't do the assignment, you give them a 50%.
Yes.
The idea behind it is that a zero mathematically is just too detrimental to the entire grading scale. That if I did 4 pieces of paper, or I did 10 pieces of paper, and I got 100% of all of them, but then you threw a zero in there, it could really hurt.
Now I'm at a 90, and I did 100% on
everything else, right?
Yeah.
So it could really you'd really fluctuate somebody's grade, and that's even 100. If I get a 90 on all of them and I got a zero, now I'm in like a C range, and I'm not really a C student. I just messed up. I forgot one piece of paper, right? So that's the idea. But apparently, this teacher didn't care. Any students that didn't show up with the homework he or she was still giving out zeros, and they fired him or her. So I guess let's start. You are a teacher.
and I have taught with this policy.
Do you agree with it or not agree with it? Let's start there.
It's weird because I understand the numbers of it. I've gone through trainings on it. I've gone through presentations on showing how the numbers work and all this stuff. And I understand the theory, the number theory. I feel like as a blanket policy, it is wrong. I feel like there's ways to implement it to not just allow students to not turn in work. I feel like this policy, if you just have it, encourages students to not do work because they're encouraged if they're not doing the best, if they're turning in work and they're not getting great grades on it. Like if you turn something in and get a 60 or you put in an hour of work on it, or if you turn in nothing and you get a 50.
Right, that's what I was about to say. I was about to say, what about these kids that really go and put in work and they get like a 65, and then the guy next to him, doesn't do anything, he gets a 50. It does seem like that person skated through.
Yeah, and it really does encourage students to just skip work. I've seen it firsthand. Students realize they're smart enough to do the math and figure it out and like understand if I just don't do that, I still get 50s. It's not that big a deal, you know. There's ways around it. You can have a 50% policy, maybe for like most teachers usually forgive a missing homework, the first one. Everybody has a mistake. Everybody misses them. Everybody forgets. You know, maybe you left it home, whatever. And then you have a policy. Maybe then the next one is a 50% if you don't turn it in. Then the next one after that might be a 20% or a 25%. And then from then on, it's zeros, where it's like it's a pattern of behavior at that point. Like that student has like missed. So if the parent comes in, I can say like, well, they've missed 5 homeworks before I even got to the point where I was giving them zeros.
Right.
Like I'm giving them multiple like opportunities. Or you have things where you get a 0 unless you make it up. Like, and then you can get a 50%.
So I can hear both sides. I can hear the old school people screaming in my ear, you know, that this is just making it easier for kids, and that it's an excuse that nobody fails, and that everybody gets pushed through no matter how smart they are, and it's making it okay to be lazy. The other side is that a 0, like you said, does really hurt the rest of their work, right? But my thing is this: at least in a lot of the classes I had, you had a test grade, you had an in-class grade, and you had a homework grade. You know, and so, okay, I had a course of, you know, my classes, I had 30 homeworks. I turned in 28 of them. That was my grade. I turned in 25 of them. That was my grade for that. And then in class, I was very participatory. I was good in class, so I got a 90 there. Maybe my tests weren't super solid, and I got an 80 on there. You average all together, that's your score for that class. That would be my best approach, so that a 0 in the course of a long term in one section of your grades doesn't kill you. In my opinion, though, at least in homework and homework should be straight participatory. As long as you gave it an effort, it looks like you legitimately gave it an effort and didn't just put, you know, whatever scribbles on a paper, I think you get credit for trying. In class grades, that's very, very different. I would also like to know what age this was. You know what I mean? Because if it's like elementary school, I'm fine with it. I don't have that big of an issue with it, because it's like, you know, now if it gets to high school and these kids are coming in and out and they're legitimately not doing any of their homework.
I was middle school, 8th grade.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, 8th grade, you got to, you know, I hated homework. Man, I hated homework. I can say this loud. I was not in a household where my parents constantly got on me to do my homework. And I think a lot of kids' households are like that. And everybody will say, yeah, but it's still your job. But if you don't have a parent, like, quite literally breathing down your neck telling you have to do it, you're not going to do it.
I know.
So what happens is, what ends up happening is all the kids that have very involved parents, or a mother that stays at home, or a dad that's very, very involved and is on their shit all the time, those are the kids that get good homework scores. All the kids that have working moms that have nurses, or working moms that work overnight, or you know, dads that work till 8 p.m. or overnight dads, UPS drivers, all these, you know, these working hardcore, you know, blue collar type jobs. They struggle to maybe jump on their kids as hard about the homework issue, so those kids end up sliding. Now, does that kid perform any less in class? Is he any dumber than anybody else? You know, I don't know if that's fair to say. I just feel like the idea is meant. Here's what I'll say, and I kind of agree with you. I think it can be used correctly in certain situations. As a blanket rule, I don't think it's a good idea. It's like, okay, in this class, you know, when it comes to homework, guys, if you don't turn it in, you know, you're going to get a 0. Now, as far as tests go, the lowest score you can get on one of my tests is a 50%. Maybe that's a better approach to it, because if you come into class and you really gave an effort and he really did fail all the way through the test and he really did try, at a certain point it seems like the teacher failed you, not the student is failing, right?
Well, like at the school I currently teach at, we really focus on what does your grade mean?
Okay.
Like, is your grade simply a sum of your homeworks and your like correct answers, or does it represent that you learned what the goal of learning was in the class? So if you're not doing part of the class, like I feel like certain subjects require more homework than others. Like I feel like math is one of those subjects that does require more homework, because you need to practice those problems on your own without the teacher there, without somebody like helping you out. you need to like work through that process on your own.
See, now I am
And
a
then you
firm
bring it
believer that
into
homework is not a
class.
good idea in general. I am in the firm belief that I went to school, I was there 8 hours, I go home, and now it's time for me to enjoy my home life and do my home shit, and then I go back and I learn. I firmly believe that. And there's a lot of countries, Sweden, a lot of places that truly believe that homework is not a good idea, and that all it really does is show your students that no matter whether you're in class or out of class, you should always be worrying about class. And I think that even in today's real work society, we've talked about this on the podcast, is that same idea has also carried through that, oh, now I'm done with my workday at 6 o'clock, but I go home, my boss also needs me to read all these emails, so my workday never really quite ends. And now maybe that's a better preparation for real life, but I also don't agree with it in general. I think that, if you really want to teach your kids math, then teach them math. I don't know that homework is always a great idea. If I go home and I want to spend time with my family and friends, I think I should be able to do that. Again, now when do they take time to practice? I don't know. I agree with you, but it's like for me.
And I'm not saying like you should have hours of homework.
It's just that home life is so it's so different for every human being that it's not the same. It's not the same level of seriousness. It's not the same parents. Nothing is consistent about it. So it's like, okay, in class, everybody has the same pencil, the same teacher, the same everything. But when I go home, I got maybe an abusive parent or a drunk parent or an angry parent, and it's like now I'm trying to do homework in that environment. I think that can fluctuate a homework very, very much. And so if my homework is graded, I think that can be very unfair.
And I 100% agree with you. As a teacher, one thing that we're often told is teach the student, not the class. We change our policies depending on the student. If I have a student who is constantly not turning in homework, then I talk to that student and find out what's going on. I find out, okay, maybe they do have a horrible home life and they can't do any of this work at home. So maybe I tell them to come in at lunch and then they can work on it in class, or maybe I try and end class a little early and let them.
I'll give you a good example.
Things like that, where just having a blanket policy, though, that's what I'm saying is like the big problem.
A good example is my friend Kurt, my stepbrother Kurt, who's on the podcast sometimes. When he was young, he lived in my neighborhood. When he was young, he had a younger sister. He had 2 younger siblings. His mother would work a lot. So when he came home, it was his job to take care of them, even from like 7th and 6th grade on. So he would cook their meals. He would help them with their homework. He would do all this stuff. And it's like he basically took the role of like a father figure as soon as he went home. So if he comes in the next day and didn't have his homework done, he's got a legitimate excuse, right? Yeah. So it's like I feel like when you put onus on getting homework done, you are basically saying that everybody's home lives are equal, and that's not fair.
Oh, and 100% not true.
So right, so I think that homework is it's a very touchy subject for me because I don't know where you fill in the gap for trying and effort and all the practice that you need. But I mean, maybe just cutting out some of the horseshit subjects would be nice. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know how you fix it. I just don't. I know that grading on homework in general can be very tough.
Well, I think what we're really both coming down to is one blanket statement or policy is not going to work for everybody.
Correct.
And you need to figure out a way for that kid to get the practice they need. And I think the problem with this, my biggest issue with this, is I've seen kids specifically abuse this policy.
Right. It's like anything else that's. I mean, but you've seen financial people in Wall Street abuse their loopholes and make money. I mean, everybody abuses stuff.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And that's why I don't like one blanket policy.
Right.
Like this, because it opens up the door for too much abuse.
I also, like I said, when I was in math in high school, the rule was as long as you had an 80% above in the class, you didn't have to do homework.
That's a great policy.
So, right, so
it's like kid specific.
So now it's like, hey, if you really are struggling with the class itself, then maybe we should have some extra homework for you. And again, we're not going to be grading whether you did a good job or not, whether you just worked on it a little bit. Maybe that can be something. I don't know how you fix it. I just know that making everybody do the exact same amount of work at home is assuming that all their home lives, they go home and they have a desk to where they can sit quietly and work on their homework. And that is, in my situation, wasn't the case. So I know in a lot of people's it wasn't.
And it's weird because in college, we're taught about, like, everybody has different learning styles or has different ways they process information or all these things. And then you go out into the world and everybody, like, you teach the whole class the same way.
Yeah.
And then you expect everybody to learn everything
at the exact
at the same speed,
right.
in the same way, and it's just not the case. Like some kids might need homework because they might just want, like, they like the quiet and being able to in class they can't focus on the numbers. Maybe somebody just gets it already and doesn't need any practice. They immediately have it. Like, and then to, like, because they don't need the practice, they're not going to do the homework. But that doesn't mean they don't know the information.
Right.
Like, all those things come into play, and it's just this whole thing that, like, it just needs to be different for different people. The idea of the idea of giving somebody credit for not doing anything bothers me as a teacher. The idea of creating things within my class to encourage kids to do the homework, because I get very little. So when I do, I feel like it's very important.
Right.
Not just, oh, you can just get a 50 if you don't turn it in. Like, that's what I think is much more important, is having meaningful, less homework.
Right. I hear you. I guess, like I said, if anybody has any ideas and they're listening on what could be done, on if you like it, is, I mean, obviously some people are screaming that society's too soft. I understand that whole argument. I just don't know how do you fix it. And like I said, I remember hearing as a young kid, somebody told me one time that even the SATs were unfair because depending on what household you grew up on, depended on how good your vocabulary was. And they said, certain households, a lot of parents use really good vocabulary and they force their kids to learn it. And just by pure osmosis of you hearing it, you end up, digesting these words. And that is so factually accurate, it's unbelievable. I remember I went to a friend's house once I joined the school program, and her dad was so well spoken, I probably learned a dozen vocabulary words just listening and being in his house. So again, that person grew up more educated than me, so to speak, quote unquote, because they were around people. So again, they had a one up in this world because their parents were better educated or whatever, whatever. Well, so I think it's a very slippery slope. If somebody has ideas, maybe ways around it, if they have a kid or somebody in this current program and they love it or hate it, we would love to get some feedback on this one, because I don't have a kid and I don't know anybody that's going through it. So except for Lamb here, who's actually teaching it. So that's a really interesting subject. So maybe we'll have to follow up.
Yeah, on that one seemed to get us.
Get us going there. So
a whole thing on education.
We'll do. So I think that's pretty much all I have. There's the only other one I thought was really interesting. I don't really mean to talk about it, but I thought it was a funny story. Was a man in Kansas, apparently went to a judge recently, and apparently he was asking the judge if him and his ex-wife could have a samurai sword fight to settle their differences
over a divorce.
The wife apparently. I don't know how this was happened, but apparently the wife volunteered her lawyer. Apparently her lawyer...
I guess you can step in as her, de facto...
As her samurai wielding sword.
Yeah.
Sword holder.
Champion, I believe.
Yes. It went to the judge, and you would assume that it was immediately thrown out, but it wasn't. Apparently, the prosecution argued that there is no law stating that two people cannot sign up for a fight where things are decided,
Trial by combat, I believe.
You're right, trial by combat. There is no law against trial by combat. So the judge told him that there were inaccuracies on both arguments, and the judge told them to come back in 6 months with more facts and better explanations, and he would decide then whether they would even possibly give permission for them to sword fight. I don't know if it would even be to the death or until I wounded you. I really don't know. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I read about a little bit about it, and there's supposedly you can yield and just decide it's over, and there's all technical terms. If I get my arm
cut off, I lose.
I got a finger, prick my finger, I'm bleeding up. Yeah, oh well.
So I think it's fascinating. It's hilarious. I don't have the energy in my day, but I could understand. Just as scorned as women are, I'm sure he was very scorned. He said he lost a lot of money in this legal dispute. He said the lawyer had taken a lot of money from him and given his ex-wife, so he was very upset, and that's why he wanted to do it. I think the idea is hilarious, but I don't think that sword fights are the best way to handle any argument. But I think the idea that two people are at least entertaining it makes it hilarious.
Yeah, I think we could do a whole nother episode on divorce and divorce lawyers and things like that.
Yes, that's an ugly subject. But that was a really funny story. Yeah. I don't have any other great ones, but honestly, I'd like to do a little bit more of these podcasts where just maybe a couple times a week we touch in on some big subjects that are going around. We throw some numbers out there and we hash it out. I want to get back to this Goop one at some point. We're going to get back to this 0%, 50% policy at one point. If you have a Spotify and you listen, and you want to listen to some dog music, please tell us what you thought about
You got
that.
any Spotify playlist recommendations? We're always looking for those.
Always listen for those. And like I said, if any of these stories you've actually physically or interacted with at any point, or even just have a real passionate opinion about, let us know.
Or if you have any stories you think we would have a passionate opinion about,
which we do pretty much have a passionate opinion about everything. Throw us a story, we'll jump into it. But I think that's all I have today. Lamb, anything else you want to throw out there?
I think we're good for today.
Yeah.
I think I really enjoyed this one. I think we're gonna have to try it out some more, put them up like right away, so they're kind of stay current.
Yeah,
so we're not talking about things that happened 6 months ago.
Yeah, heck yeah. The oldest one we talked about today was Santa Claus, and I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it was fun.
Santa throwing money in the streets. So if you're a listener that's been listening, we really, really appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough for jumping on board and just listening to us hash it out. Your support is unbelievably appreciated and welcome. If you haven't already, like I said, jump us on the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTubes. We're everywhere. iTunes, Spotify. Throw a follow or a comment. We don't, I don't need a massive, anything. Just a follow or a comment would be great.
Yeah, the best thing you could ever do for us is just recommend this to a friend.
That's right. Say, hey, we this is pretty funny. They talk about some interesting subjects. Throw it on board. But we really appreciate you guys. As always, if we were factually inaccurate about something, sorry, we don't give a shit. It's two dumb idiots. Like I said, we know what you signed up for. We're going to have some factually inaccurate stuff in here, but we're trying to have a good time with it. As always, I am Nick.
I'm Kevin.
And we are two dumb idiots. Yeah, I mean, I've been called dumb once or twice in my life.